Good morning! Assassin's Creed Shadows numbers show the game is trending to its lowest numbers as Monday rolls in and weekend boost is over. The numbers will never go higher on PC until a DLC drops. I will say this, that a lot of goobers use the Ubisoft launcher, but 41,000 is not great. 41,000 for a AAA game that costed $200 million to make, approximately. Like, even if we lowball it and say 100 million, which is very unlikely, it is not doing too great. Veilguard did better. Veilguard did better than this. I think they peaked at like, what, 80k or something? I could be wrong. Wasn't it 80k? Compared to WoW's, you see the problem? I mean, again, it's not great, and I think people are really coping. I mean, if this was an indie game, I think this would be fantastic. 64,000 is a lot for an indie game. But this is a $200 million game. This is not good enough. People were joking and saying that Tencent is gonna maybe buy Ubisoft at this point. Poopysoft, I mean. The Chats is the best Assassin's Creed game is done on Steam, probably. I think that's also a bit of a cope because people were like saying, oh yeah, it's Odyssey. Odyssey did really, really badly and compared to Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I'm like, yeah, because it was a re-release or something. There are rumors it was a $900 million budget, not confirmed, but it's been trending today. I need to see it before I believe it. $900 million for a video game is egregious. That's like actually criminal. I think that's like money laundering. I need to see it for myself. Yeah, but this is what I wanted to show you guys for the memes. This is horrendous. Chat, just prepare yourself. This is not like I'm just gonna let it play. I can't, man.
No, you'll tell me where it is.
I do that, you'll have no reason to let me live.
So you won't tell me where it is?
No.
Then you're of no use to me at all.
Me when stream shuts off? This is real! What is that transition? Bro, this is like a Quentin Tarantino shot, man. What?
No.
Facial animation. I've seen TF2 edits from 2012 like do better than this. You cannot in good faith tell me that this is amazing AAA budget. Neverwinter Nights had better fucking facial animation, and that game was made in like 2005 or 6. Oh my goodness, what are we doing? TF2 fan edits not official? Yes! This is what I'm saying. Like, people will be like dying on this hill and be like, oh my god, it's the anti-woke, Alana, you're so anti-woke. And I'm like, it's not about anti-woke, it's just a fucking bad game. At best, it's like a 4 out of 10. For something that prides itself on like being like fun and like a story-driven game, and you're supposed to be like, you know, killing people for funsies and, you know, blasting shit or blasting people apart and killing the Pope and whatever, fist fighting the Pope, and Leonardo da Vinci makes you like a fucking paper airplane. Like, I feel like in 2025, I don't think there's like an excuse for having bad facial animations. For me, the thing that kills me the most is that someone had to direct this shot. Like, they have to make storyboards for these cinematics. Someone sat down and said, like, yes, please make this shot. And then it's gonna zoom in on the barrel, and then she's gonna go, soy pog? And then the shot is gonna be like this.
No.
Me when I was squatting on the toilet concentrating. I don't know. I just can't take this seriously. It's so bad. The voice actors are trying. I can tell they are trying. But they should have done a better job or been directed to do a better job. In another timeline like Vortex Sect, I would work for Ubisoft to make this scene better. No, you would have quit by then. I refuse to believe that someone like you would have worked for Poopysoft in good faith. I think you would have fucking quit. Alana's a story-focused player. I'm not, but like this is so bad. I'm not a story-focused player. It's just that like when you have something that is this immersion breaking, it starts to take me out of like the game itself. I realize I'm playing a game. Does that make sense? Some people have really bad voice acting and cutscenes, but it's like at the time, that was the best you had. So it wasn't like immersion breaking. Skyrim had better animations. There's scenes in Oblivion that were probably better. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen 14-year-olds direct better cinematic shots for, you know, cinematics that were made up. This is not an excuse. This is very, very sad to see. Also, I need to see the charts now, actually. I wanted to see the charts before we look at this. Where's the SteamDB? There's also this. Spotted at a retail game store in Australia, big pile just sitting there. What does your game store look like for AC Shadows? Of course, there's a whole shift to digital, and it's not surpassing discs are just sitting there. Nobody in Australia even buys physical copies anymore. Last time AB Games, I was the only customer for like an hour. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this is like a certifiable, like, oh my god, this sucks. I don't think people are buying. I don't think people are buying discs. Yeah, I don't think it's very common at this point. But then, also, what begs the question is, like, why do you have so many discs of Assassin's Creed Shadows? Why did you make so many? I don't know. Many questions. I'm not 100% on it. Let's see the charts. Oh, yeah, they're phasing out for sure. Yeah, what is this? I mean, the weekend's over. Of course there's gonna be a massive dip, but damn. How long does it take to finish the story? 40 hours? Yeah, someone says about 40 hours. Yeah, that sounds about right. 20 plus hours? It says 30, a roundabout. It's dropping pretty bad. Not looking too hot. Odyssey had nearly the same peak in Umbra as Shadows. Again, I take this with a grain of salt. I absolutely do. I'm not saying this definitely is like, oh my god, Assassin's Creed only has 64,000 players. I don't think that's true, but we have to take into account they gave away a lot of keys for free. There is a Ubisoft launcher. There is. Bellier made a video about the Ubisoft shareholders. Might give some insight on what's happening. Is this about like being acquired by like Tencent or like the potential? Over 100,000 keys apparently. I don't know how many, but it definitely is a factor. I know that a lot of people got free keys. VTubers got free keys that never played Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Did Odyssey release at the same time on Steam and retail, or the Steam version was released later? That's another factor. People are like, oh, well, Assassin's Creed Shadows did better than most games released on Steam by Assassin's Creed. And I'm like, well, yeah, because most of the releases were after the console release. Yeah, why would people buy the game on Steam if they've already played through it? Like, that's another factor. Investors are protesting on Ubisoft? Really? Oh, Bellular made a video. Ubisoft plans to break up. Investors are furious. Oh my god! Ooh, investors. Yeah, sure, why not? I'll watch it. I wonder how Yasuke Simulator is doing. Don't start on that, man. Yasuke Simulator is so strong. I saw people playing that, and at one point, it actually did better in the Twitch, what is it called? In the Twitch category of like how many viewers are watching, it was keeping up with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Obviously it dipped down pretty fast, but like, come on, man. It's sad. Yeah, because Asmund was playing it and like Asmund had like, I don't know, 20,000-30,000 viewers. Oh, that's so good. Okay, what is this? Ubisoft's last resort. It's time for Tencent to buy him out.
A lot is going down right now for Ubisoft. I'll start with the obvious thing that
Ubisoft.
you know, that Assassin's Creed Shadows has just had its review embargo lift. But that's not really the main story here, and by the end of this video,
Saying that it is an 8 out of 10 is so disingenuous
just
to
had its
me.
review embargo.
Like, honestly, Chet, I know there's some people who hate me for having an opinion and like blah, 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 blah. Do you honestly believe that this is an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10? I think even the most generous people will say like, oh, it's like a 7 or a 6 or a 5. I don't think this is an 8. I honestly think it's a 4. I think the graphics look okay, but like the cinematics and the voice acting is terrible. The combat's pretty stale. I think the atmosphere's pretty cool from what I saw when Shroud was playing. Silvervale was playing too, and it didn't play that badly. But 8 out of 10 is like, bro, you're comparing, like, what game's got an 8 out of 10? Baldur's Gate? You're comparing this to Baldur's Gate? Really? I don't believe it.
Lift.
No.
But that's not really the main story here, and by the end of this video, we'll even be discussing the very real chance of Ubisoft quite literally splitting. That might sound crazy to you, but believe me, it's actually a well-substantiated thing that we're able to talk about. Now, according to this shareholder letter, Assassin's Creed Shadows should save the company financially. But here's the thing, that is not some boastful letter sent to the shareholders from Ubisoft. Oh no, it is an eviscerating letter sent from
Monster Hunter got an 8 out of 10. Please don't say that to me, that hurts. Like, even with all the optimization and the cringe story, like, I would still say that Monster Hunter is like a 7. There's no way it's better than that.
shareholders to Ubisoft, and they are not
Ubisoft.
happy. It's alleging secret talks, it announces a protest, it threatens lawsuits, and it all cuts through to a very personal angle. The CEO and founder, Yves Guillemot, has been fending off hostile takeovers for a lot of his recent career, and it's happening to him again, because now he's got shareholders trying to take him out. And that gives anyone who could help him out of his current situation quite a lot of leverage. We have a huge story to cover today, and a little fun part of it is, one of the things...
Again, this doesn't look terrible. It's not an 8, though. I think it's cool.
They're trying to weaponize is, in fact, you and
the
me.
AI is terrible.
Now, here's something that's pretty wild. BT were hacked a few months ago, and that meant that user data, which may include my family, was stolen. And that's why I actually use today's sponsor, Incogni, because they are our way to fight back. That's because when data leaks, data brokers then harvest.
It looks fine,
and
and
then
that's
they just
okay.
sell it
Yeah, I
on.
don't think
You
there's
really
anything
know
wrong with
who.
it looking
If you ever wonder
okay.
how spam callers get your number and lots of strange things like that, well, it's often this whole
Spam
terrible
callers
system.
are just
It
chatters.
sucks, and Incogni solves the problem by automating the legal work that you'd otherwise have to do to get your data taken down. And if you join at incogni.com/bellularnews, you'll get 60% off an annual plan. And here's how it works. It's so easy. You enter your information, and that's basically it. Now, the way it actually works is you've got the legal right to have your data taken down, but doing that takes hours. It's a manual process, and it's not permanent.
Sucks.
What Incogni does is it automatically scans all the brokers, it sends
This is so
takedown requests,
bad.
and it adds you to suppression lists so your data is not reharvested. It does that automatically, and then it constantly rescans so
That's
your data is
me!
actually kept down.
That big white
Just take a look
man!
at my dashboard for an example. You can see 150 sent requests, 142 completed. I've not touched it since October, but since October, Incogni's removed me from 35 more brokers. That's peace of mind. At incogni.com/bellularnews, you get 60% off an annual plan, so give my link a click today. To kick us off, here's the letter. It's from AJ Investments, who bought a minority share in Ubisoft last year.
Okay.
If you know what a activist investor is, well, they're basically one of those. They jump into a company, they try to do some form of skullduggery to yank up the share price, and then they yeet themselves away with a lovely payday. Now, when their letter says that Shadows can save the company financially, it's not wrong. The finances of Ubisoft do need saving, as do the Guillemots, whose position...
The game cost 200 million to make, and I think Asmund did the math, and they have to sell 1 million copies. They said they had 1 million players across all platforms, like Steam, Poopysoft, PlayStation, Xbox, right? I will be struggling to believe that that would break even. Yeah. Now at 2 million, That still doesn't mean 1 million people bought it. That's my issue. You have to spend more than 1 million? Wasn't it 3 million? 4 million copies sold? Oh my god, really? I just got fact checked. It's 4 million copies sold. That's terrible. I thought it was less than that. I was being nice.
This letter very much seeks to undermine. So let me lay out the stakes for you so you understand the gravity of today's story. Ubisoft's post-pandemic release schedule just, well, fell off a cliff, right? And then when they did ship games, quite often they missed on quality and they undersold. Leakers actually report half a dozen cancelled projects, and of course, please the market, Ubisoft launched into all of the fun trends, the NFTs, the AI, all of that.
That's also really true. They did pop off on like wanting to capitalize on NFTs. I don't want Ubisoft to fail. You guys know, like, if you had a Game Boy Advance or a DS and you had Rayman, that was a poopy soft game. I loved Rayman when I was a kid. Yeah, I don't want them to fail. I just want what's for the best. I don't want them to get sold to Tencent either, because look at what Tencent's doing to League.
Then, of course, harassment and abuse claims led to a purge of senior leadership, and then the year 2024 happened. 2024 was, as we all know, pretty much a shit show for the company. The thing that should have really brought in the sales, Assassin's Creed Shadows, was...
Ooh, and then we're kind of like maintaining. This is the big crash right here. Holy smokes.
Obviously delayed. They knew that Shadows needed to be of better quality. It seemed that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora didn't really do that well.
Oh,
and
yeah,
while
this
Prince
sucked.
of Persia Lost Crown is a really good video game, it was just too niche and it basically did not move the needle. While all this is going
I never even heard about this game. They probably did really bad marketing as well. It's a small game. That sucks. That really does suck. Shit marketing? Yeah, there's a lot of games out there that they just don't market and people don't hear about them. What's it called? Prince of Persia? Prince of Persia? Ubisoft The Lost Crown. Okay. Prince of Persia stylish action-adventure platformer game set in a mythical Persian world. Okay. 4.5. Yeah, this actually has good reviews. Mostly positive. It has 3,000 reviews. Yeah, this doesn't look too bad. So people liked it, but it was really niche. Wait, didn't Asmund play this on stream? Didn't he? And then people didn't like it or something? Oh my god, his chat hated it or something, right? Like, they all said it sucked. It was overpriced. Yeah, they made a movie out of it. No. This was before. The movie was first, wasn't it? They didn't like the price. Oh, that's completely fair. I think that $40 for a platformer... That's probably like a couple of hours. I think that's really egregious, but like the overall quality isn't too bad. That's fair. That's a fair criticism. I don't think that's really harsh.
We've got
people are allowed to be upset about money,
demanding the removal of the founding Guillemot family, but of course, unfortunately for those investors, the Guillemots had spent the last decade making their position, their control over the company almost unimpeachable through a deal with Tencent. And so, Shadows was delayed, and now we're at the time where it is about to come out. And now it basically means if Shadows flops, it's proof that Ubisoft does need to be gutted, and that leadership, say the Guillemots, really are the problem, at least to the investors. If the game succeeds, in a way it'll almost be proof that management should have just made a lot of decisions a lot sooner, and basically for AJ Investments with their letter, no matter what happens with Shadows, they'll get to basically say, yeah, we told you so. Now, don't be confused here. AJ Investments are not out to make a better game for you. They are parroting very obvious criticisms of Ubisoft.
Well, they're the activist investors. They want to pump the stock and then sell. So they make the max amount of profit they can before it goes down again. Many such cases when you are a publicly traded company, it sucks. That's why I get scared of people saying like, oh, Steam's never gonna get bad. It's like, all it takes is like going public and then it's over. Steam already has like a pretty good reputation, but it does have a lot of issues, especially with like Dota and like CSGO, like monetization wise. And how, for example, Dota 2 has had really bad battle passes and consistency, and how they didn't have like a TI, and how they like basically delayed it a lot. It sucks. Steam will never go public. I hope not. I want to be wrong. Just keep that in mind.
Of which I'd say we could probably agree with. But
Yeah.
as an example, they're also pissed off over the delay to Shadows. I think we all know that that delay was a good thing, and as you'll soon find out in this video, they're
Yeah.
trying to rile everybody up to generate headlines to put more pressure on the Guillemos, which will, of course, make their position far stronger, given that they're trying to do the whole rebelling thing. We'll get into that, but for now, let's examine the spiciest claims of their letter. Ubisoft have been secretly meeting Microsoft, Electronic Arts, Tencent, and more. That is the claim that is made by the shareholder letter, and it's far from the only bit of pressure that AJ Investments are seeking to mount up here. They actually plan a protest, they plan a lawsuit against Ubisoft's management as well, who they say have wrongfully withheld information and hurt shareholders.
And again, keep in mind, they are not for the gamers. They're not like a gamer investment. They're pissed they're losing money.
Now, sparking this was the
all I
Assassin's
care
Creed
about.
Shadow dual delay, and then the financial forecast changes that were caused by that. Suffice to say, yeah, revenue projections went down. But then it gets a bit juicy because they say that this depressed stock price would allow the big players to buy up Ubisoft on the cheap. Now, of course, if those were
True.
big players who were siding with Ubisoft management, that would be great. It would be fulfilling management's personal goals at the expense of the portfolios of smaller shareholders, perhaps shareholders like AJ Investments. It's quite spicy. And per the letter,
They're
Ubisoft
pissed.
often hid things from their investors as well. As an example, allegedly Ubisoft hid a deal with Savvy Games. Savvy Games, if you're not aware, are Saudi Arabia's state-funded gaming company.
Oh,
They make a lot of
shit.
investments. So apparently,
Oh no. What would they do to all the gay samurai scenes?
there's a deal with them to make DLC for Assassin's Creed Mirage, but I think a lot more
That fell
relevant to
through.
today, quote, discussions between Microsoft, Electronic Arts, and others that are interested in acquiring IPs from Ubisoft.
State-funded gaming company. That's quite common nowadays. Yeah, absolutely. China does it a lot.
If true, that is a perfect
America does it
wedge
too.
issue for AJ Investments, and they know it.
Yeah.
This letter says that they will hold a protest in Paris this May, and that if things don't improve, they'll actually sue.
Uh-oh.
When you examine all of this,
You know, actually, that's kind of fucked up. Like, suing because your product doesn't do well? I don't know. That's kind of fucked. They could do that?
it's hard to
You're not making me
see a lot of
money.
it as just the final nail in the coffin for Ubisoft. They've had nothing but bad news. You know, even their own shareholders are turning against them. But it's not all of their shareholders. It's a group of them, a group that is led by AJ Investments. And it's not hard to see what AJ Investments are actually doing here. And that's really because they've played their cards, like, openly for everyone to see. It's bloody obvious. And, well, they're not the sort that we should trust, even if sometimes they'll say words that we agree with. Let me explain why.
Ubisoft has a certain level of responsibility. Well, that's what's fucked up about going public and having those kinds of expectations set upon you because you have to please investors and make them money. Like, if a game flops and it's... I don't know, what kind of example could I give? I don't know. You make a game about China, and then suddenly China goes to war with America, and then all of a sudden it becomes like a really hot topic, and people don't want to buy the game because it's set in China. Like, how is that your fault as like an artist, for example? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm throwing out like a really random, like kind of an extreme example, but it's not really your fault. You made the game in advance, like 20 years, like maybe not 20, but like 10 years in the... Man, I'm getting ADHD'd out. If you make a game and you plan ahead, and then you release the game, and then like something political happens, for example, like a war breaks out, yeah, Battlefield 4 or like, I don't know, Stalker, potentially, that could have done better probably if the war didn't happen. Yeah, Atomic Heart is a really good example. Even though Atomic Heart was a pretty popular game, it didn't sell as well as it did because a lot of people were like, oh my god, you're funding the Russians, blah, 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 I hate the war. that's like your prerogative as a customer, but at the same time it does influence it, and obviously it does impact your sales. So like, you can't make people happy when they expect you to make millions of dollars, and Eero has to go up
Reading AJ's letter,
constantly.
one thing
You can't
that
make
will strike you is
mistakes.
that it's dramatic, right? Ubisoft are keeping secrets. Shareholders are going to protest. Lawsuits are coming. That is all emotive, spicy stuff. And it is spicy. It's kind of fun to talk about. But here's the thing with that. We've been watching this story since it began, and it began last year. What this letter is, because if you only see a little fragment here or there, you won't have a real full picture of the story. What this is just another play in a war game that had been going on for a while. The first letter actually came last year from AJ Investments, and this open letter blamed Ubisoft management for everything wrong with the company.
Damn.
And in fairness, a hell of a lot of blame does rest.
Imagine if I went public and I said something that one of the investors didn't like, and then they saw like my viewers going down by like, I don't know, 200, or like they weren't making enough money. Yeah, I get like canceled and sued. Yeah, imagine like VTuber companies go public. It'd be so bad.
Them. But why was this new open letter released to IGN first? That's no slight, of course, to IGN's news department, but the whole letter, I mean, it's a shareholder letter. It's corporate talk. Why are you giving that to the world's most read gaming site for gamers instead of, say, the trade press? I mean, if the intent is to actually get shareholders and investors to protest with them, that does seem kind of counterintuitive. You would not go to IGN if that was your goal. What you would go to IGN for is to get public eyeballs on the situation. Eyeballs that are, of course, part of gaming brains who generally are pretty, frustrated with Ubisoft, but not really people who will be thinking about who AJ Investments are, who might think, oh, look at that, even the shareholders are turning against them. Damn, those shareholders are our bros. Oh, no.
That's what I'm
the
saying.
Headlines, I mean, we just got to laugh at Ubisoft. It gets the headlines trending. Here's the thing. Investment firms generally don't care, too much about the detail of why gamers are mad. They just want to harness you and further their own game. And their game is fairly obvious. It's to put more and more pressure on Ubisoft. So if news sparks because of their open letter sent to IGN, which it absolutely has, then that does further...
I mean, to be fair, all of these outlets pretty much regurgitate the same crap anyway. Why would a VTuber company even exist, bro? What do you mean? There's like a lot. There's massive ones. Does anyone actually care about Ubisoft's situation? I do think that you should care a little bit. Even if you hate Ubisoft, this sets a precedent to bad video game companies being bought out, and basically what happens is that it passes over in hands and it leads over into worse video games overall, because these tech bros or like these finance bros that make a lot of money off of your capital and the increase of your capital investment from their investment itself, they don't know what the hell video games even are. They just see money go up. That's kind of what's happening to like Riot Games ultimately. Do you guys remember the loot box drama and how they like went back on it because of public backlash? They thought they could get away with like squeezing more money out of the player already, and they were like, all right, let's push it even further, and then boom, public backlash. Yeah, they just want the line to go up. They don't give a fuck how they do it.
Their pressure on Ubisoft to capitulate to their demands. They don't actually need to do a protest or a lawsuit to accomplish that. They just need to harness public relations against Ubisoft. Now, what about the meat of their letter, right? That Ubisoft are meeting other companies. That it's, all secret and spooky stuff. Well, it is newsworthy, right? Yeah, okay, them talking to these companies like EA, that is newsworthy. But it's also exactly what Ubisoft promised they would do, which was to, again, quote Ubisoft's own words, review, quote, various transformational, strategic, and capitalistic options. And to kind of cut through business speak, that basically just means layoffs, closures, and possible sale options. And so far, we've seen layoffs and we've seen closures. That they're looking into possible sale options is, not really surprising because
lots of layoffs happening too. After 2020's boom, Ubisoft had a massive increase after 2020, and that bloated up the company to massive proportions. How many people did it take to make Assassin's Creed? Like 6,000 or 5,000? The end game credits are like 2 hours long. It's ridiculous how many people worked on the game. 3,000? I don't think it was 18,000. That's ridiculous. Yeah, 3,500, and it's not even that remarkable of a game.
they literally said they would do that. And when you actually read Ubisoft's statement, they say that when there is a transaction, the market will be told. And you may then think, why would you be secret about that? Why would you not announce talks? Well, if talks fail or a deal falls through, that can really hurt you as a company. Just ask the Embracer Group. Remember how well that went for them? So, given the risk, why would investors want Ubisoft to talk? Specifically, these investors, AJ Investments. That's pretty obvious. Rumors of a deal will shoot the price up. This quite literally happened.
Yeah.
For short-term investors, that is the business model, and you don't even need to take it from me. We can just read AJ's own website. Quote, AJ Investments take advantage of events and take such steps that will help correct and optimize the running of companies. Basically, they capitalize on a problem. They force any solution that raises a short-term stock.
And they also create problems that weren't there so that they can sell a solution through another person being employed. I hate that so much. I watched this one audiobook about people creating jobs where there was literally no job before, just so people can have a job. And then people get fired over them and they become redundant like a year later.
Price, and then they profit. They don't so much care about the long term when they say save the company.
Yeah, paper
As an
pushing
example,
is awesome.
They only started their position in Ubisoft a few weeks before they published their first open letter. Prior to that, they were actually long-term shareholders of Activision Blizzard, which obviously worked out fairly well for them in the end. But in this case, right, their letter, their pressure did kind of work. Ubisoft's studio closures and layoffs in the last few months happened at least in part because of that pressure. And now the stock price is somewhat rising up again. But not just because of this letter. In fact, it's because Ubisoft might actually be close to a deal. What if I told you we might actually have Ubisoft 2? I'm not shitting you. A new company created by Ubisoft that will include, quote, some of Ubisoft's IP. Like
some of it. Not all of it, though.
Assassin's Creed. That is apparently something that could actually exist, that is looking for minority investors, and this is according
to... imagine Blizzard made a WoW-only, Blizzard. Poopy Soft 2! Electric Boogaloo!
To Bloomberg's reporting, what it would essentially be is a lifeboat to save the company and maybe save management as well. Now, apparently offers are being made to Tencent as well as various investment funds, and preliminary bidding is actually being sought this very month. Now, obviously, right, this is all stuff that's not settled yet. It is open to change, but it does in fact align with Bloomberg's previous reporting. Bloomberg, back in January, claimed that Tencent and Ubisoft were in talks to establish, quote, a new venture.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Would be backed by Tencent. Of course, the Guillemets are already backed by Tencent. A whole bunch of the Guillemets' control over Ubisoft is actually via a company that's called, I think it's Guillemot Brothers Limited or whatever, where basically the Guillemot brothers...
Look at all these finance bros getting into video gaming. I just can't stand it. So much money. Oh, the Guillemot Brothers Limited, they own part of Tencent, and Tencent owns every other fucking video game company under the sun. They have, minor investments.
Company is like a joint venture or whatever with Tencent. So suffice to say, the boys at Tencent have got decent leverage over the Guillemets. I think it's fair to say. Anyway, what's maybe more curious here is that Bloomberg are reporting that Ubisoft may, and this is a quote, seek a valuation for the yet-to-be-formed IP unit that is higher than the size of the main companies. So let that sink in. A unit of Ubisoft being worth more than Ubisoft. How can that make sense? Well, honestly, it's actually extremely simple. Efficiency. If you take one unit of Ubisoft and take it away, but then you look at Ubisoft and you sort of see, hang on, lots of bits of Ubisoft are actually of a negative value, well, yeah, of course it actually makes a lot of sense that this sniped away thing, this, scalpel away thing, will actually have a higher
sell
valuation.
high, chat.
Right now, you see, the belief is that Ubisoft
I
is
should
too
start
big,
investing in
not developer
Ubisoft.
headcount, but actually
I'll
in
call it
intellectual
Foxy
property.
Soft.
A bit of a smaller, more focused company that only cares about a few IPs is likely going to be seen as a better investment. And honestly, I think it's pretty obvious why when you take a look at the games industry. So if this is to happen, and there is
Ubisoft,
good
yeah.
reporting from Bloomberg that it is something that's being investigated, how would it happen? Well, broadly, there's two ways that could go down. Number one, the new company would just hold the IP with really no developers. So
A little bit of private equity magic, strip away valuable parts into a new spin-off company, leave the debts with the old company. I don't know how debt transfer works for companies. Like, I am not that business finance savvy, but I can think maybe that could be a potential. I'm not sure. When was the last time I got a Ubisoft game? My last Ubisoft game was a Rayman game on the DS, I think, when I was a kid. It was great.
it would control the IP for minimal cost. It would then license that IP back to the original Ubisoft entity, which would then be doing
That's smart! Licensing it back. That's smart.
development. The new IP holding entity would have lower fixed costs, less risk, and its investors would have more control, which gives them a real good incentive to buy in. It's basically saying, hey, do you want a slice of Assassin's Creed and The Crew and, all these big good things, and not any of that other junk? That could be pretty good for them. There is, of course, another way. You just do a split in terms of development and intellectual property. You could perhaps imagine one side taking the smaller yet beloved properties like Rayman, Trackmania, and Anno, and maybe the other side taking the big AAAs, your Rainbows, Assassin's Creed, The Crew, all that stuff. The point is that basically, in theory, both sides of the business could here be more efficient and be more focused. Now, there is a problem that efficiency is a fine idea on paper, and the other side of this is, yes, there are all of
the game that you buy but can't play. Wait, I actually remember that. Wait, we talked about it on stream months ago. Yeah, the game that literally was dead, and then the people that bought the discs, like some random dudes out in somewhere in America, I forget where, and then they sued to try and play the game because they can't play the game because there's no servers, and they were like, what the hell, why was I allowed to play the game? And they wouldn't refund them either, I'm pretty sure. That was a big thing.
These rational arguments, but you could perhaps also say this would work per the goals of the Guillemot family, who would be using something like this to basically retain control of Ubisoft and solve their current predicament. But of course, the problem there, the thing with efficiency, is that it's fine on paper, not necessarily reality. Here's the rub for today. Assassin's Creed saving the company does not mean better games for you, okay? How many games does Ubisoft make that are more efficient for investors on release than just putting your money on the stock market, right? Like in the S&P 500.
That's why I think that video game investment is really difficult, because video games are naturally gonna flop here and there. There are so many companies that had flops before they took off. Like, even Divinity Original Sin, this is a really good example. Larian Studios, even though it was a critical success, they barely broke even with the sales because the game was so large and so expansive, and it was really, they put in a lot of effort and love into it. They worked on it for like 6 years. But they still didn't break even, they didn't break even until it reached critical success. It wasn't like a breakout, massive, investment extravaganza. Yeah, it's too much of a niche. And then what these investors want at the end of the day, they want lots and lots of money, and a lot of games can't provide that for the investment versus return thing.
Well, the answer basically is
I don't think video games are a good investment for investors.
Really
don't go public.
Throwing your money in the stock market. Assassin's Creed is worth it.
It really
Rainbow
kind of
Six Siege
sucks.
is worth it. Brawlhalla is worth it. Some of their other sort of live servicey sleeper hits are probably worth it as well. But just about everything else, those are risks. They're taking up resources that could be going to making far more, guaranteed profitable games. It's not efficient for Ubisoft to produce Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, right? Under pure market theory, that game was a bad investment. It was a waste of time. None of this is about the—
Yeah, but people liked it. Apart from the money, of course. You know what the bad part about the whole price versus game thing that someone brought up, and they said that was too expensive? The problem is if they didn't make it expensive enough for Ubisoft, they would have stuffed it full of microtransactions. But then they probably weighed their options and said, okay, we're not gonna put microtransactions in a fucking platformer. That would be such massive backlash, so we're gonna take the L and make it more expensive. I bet you $100 that's probably what happened.
Quality of the games that are being made. AJ Investments
Imagine,
may say
like,
that they
buying
want
health
that.
or,
They
like,
may say
you
that
know,
and try to
double
harness
jumping.
your anger to put on more pressure. But at the end of the day, we know that they were pissed about the delays to Assassin's Creed Shadows. And whether you want that game to succeed or not, game companies delaying their game so that they can have more polished releases is almost universally a good thing for the customer. So if Ubisoft are
I think if they released it back in October, I think this game would have been a fucking disaster. The optimization would have probably been even worse. I heard there's a lot of problems with the optimization for the most part. In PC, obviously. I don't think consoles had that much of a pain with playing the game.
to sell off half their intellectual property to the
Same
highest
with Monster
bidder,
Hunter
while throwing
Wilds, though,
pink
to be
slips at
fair.
thousands of developers and doing all of these short-term things and pursuing getting that stock price up ASAP, but not necessarily at long-term value, long-term quality. Will that be good for the games? I would not necessarily think so, especially since this is the type of the investor who is anti-delay, even though the likes of Star Wars Outlaws clearly tell us those delays
this game
are
was
often
so bad.
needed. And so regardless of how
This was worse than AC Shadows, for sure. This was 100% worse. This is like a 3 or a 2 out of 10.
well Assassin's Creed Shadows sells, expect them to do more things, to drum up more headlines, to try and get a bit more leverage, a bit more control, and turn
Say what you
pressure
want, this
into
was a
something
W
that
in
they can profit
comparison.
off. Meanwhile, though, on the Gilmo front, well, they might be trying to restructure Ubisoft, doing something with Tencent and potential other suitors to get around this problem. Will that be good for the actual games? I don't necessarily think so. So at least it basically means, who knows if Assassin's Creed Shadows is going to be some amazing banger or terrible failure, whatever it is. At least what I can say with a good degree of surety is that it does make for a pretty damn good episode of corporate drama. We can at least enjoy
I love
that.
corpos.
Okay, I'll
Chat,
see
you want to
when there's
invest
a
in
new update to
Smugglana
the story,
Incorporated?
probably in a week or two, once we know how the game launch is actually shaken out. Till then, though, do you want more drama? Corporate drama?
Yay,
Well,
we get
what's
private
this
equity or private equity. I love it. I thought we already did. No, I haven't sold yet. What do you sell? 36% more chest. Go check out Bellular. He's cool. He makes a lot of like game news oriented. I know it's a bit detailed, like more detailed than the average like video, but I kind of like that too. Cause he does go into detail about like the stock market and like investors and like actual names. I love corporations! I love making value for shareholders at the expense of people who actually buy games! Yes! This video is something else. Yeah, Ubisoft's AI has always been pretty bad. Nah. Yeah. Yeah. What? That's supposed to hit! What is he doing? Hit her butt! That's ridiculous. That's terrible. Oh my god. Yeah, what the frick is going on, bro? Oh my god.